ADHD Rewired, episode 403. This is the podcast for those of us with really good intentions and a slightly wandering attention. I'm Eric Tivers. I'm a licensed clinical social worker by training and a coach by design. I'm your host, and I have ADHD. ADHD Rewired is more than just a podcast. We are a community. We are wired for connection, and you are not alone. Go to ADHDrewired.com to learn how you can join us in our free and secret Facebook group. Get additional resources for every episode, including links to any resources we mention on today's show. You can support us on Patreon, sign up for our email newsletter. You can request podcast postcards to distribute to your clients and support groups. Learn all about our award-winning coaching and accountability groups. You can co-work with us in our Adult Study Hall virtual membership community. You can do all of these things by going to our website at ADHDrewired.com. We know that starting is the hardest part, so let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of ADHD Rewired. We have a little bit of a different thing going on here today, partially because it's the Thursday before this episode came out on the 18th at 5 p.m. And at this moment, I didn't have anything recorded to be released today. So, circumstance is what it is. What we have here is I dropped in to one of our ASH Plus sessions in Adult Study Hall with Kat Hoyer, who leads our CASH session, and CASH stands for Career Accelerator Adult Study Hall. And she's been doing some work with a bunch of people here. And was telling me that when I was meeting with her earlier, people are getting job interviews and just making really good progress. And so I was like, it'd be really cool to just hear how people are kind of utilizing both Adult Study Hall as well as your session, Kat. So I would love to give everyone here just a chance to kind of share what doing this work, working on, like what your goals have been coming in here. So Xavier, I'll start with you. Why'd you start coming in here? What were your goals?
Yeah, so I'm Xavier. One of the big goals that I wanted was to transition from career and advocacy, where we take these really complex things, we understand the intersectionality of the world and people, and leave all that behind, because I come home so drained with zero brain left for myself, and go over to a job that's in the field that I advocated for. I pushed for clean energy, among many other things, and I want to be one of those people that come to my hometown and put a solar panel on that roof.
So you're looking for a full career change?
Yeah, and I feel really good about how much progress I've made. I can say more about that if you want.
Yeah, so tell us, what have you done since coming to these sessions?
Well, I think the most important thing that we get at least I get out of all things ARC, is confidence and support.
And just so for listeners know, for ARC is our shorthand for ADHD Rewired Coaching. So Xavier is an alumni of one of our coaching groups. Now
that I'm an alumni and being directly supported by Kat, by the way, Kat, you're an amazing person. I think one of the things that I've got now is a timeline, and I can step back and see how much progress I've made and see how many more steps I have in front of me. And Kat has been super helpful with the many tools that she's brought from her past. I'm supporting many people through this before, and I'm able to benefit from her roar exercises. I've done 1, 2, and 3 exercises. I had a little bit of avoidance there for a week or two, but I jumped in. So happy that I finished it, because now I feel so much more confident about where I'm at.
And what were these exercises?
I have them printed out in front of me, so it's okay if I take a look at that and
give you
some accurate reflections on it. Unless Kat, do you want to speak to it?
I think Kat's really enjoying hearing you talk about it. I get to see it all over her face.
Yeah, so these are exercises that I've done in the past with career coaching clients. I've done it in job clubs and things like that. And yeah, everyone's kind of at different stages. Some people do resist, and we do the compassionate ass kicking. And so which one? This is the ROAR exercise, which Eric, I love my acronyms.
I was like, what does this stand for? Oh my gosh, Kat speaks in acronyms.
It stands for results-oriented and relevant. So it's a way for people to really understand what they bring to the table, because typically they, by the time people come to me or they get, whether it's in this group or any other group, there's usually a little bit of their confidence is taking a bit of a kicking. So this is a way to look at it and go, okay, wow, I was really good at this. I was really good at that. People complimented me on this. And it came, all of this stuff that they're getting was developed organically from me working with clients and hearing them. When I'd ask those questions, I could hear the energy shift with them where they were like, oh, I don't suck. My last boss made me feel like I did, but I don't. So, and it also really shows them what they're good at. So just, like with what Xavier was saying, like he recognizes that these jobs that take a lot of EF, that take a lot of mental bandwidth, maybe aren't the best for him when it comes to work-life balance. And that's one of the things we talked about today. We know a lot about ourselves in ADHD Rewired because we learn a lot about ourselves. And, we may not be able to talk about that or to that in an interview because not everyone understands themselves in that way. And yeah, so that's part of it.
Okay. All right. I know we have Kai who's got they got a time limit. So I want to check in with them. So Kai, tell us kind of, I don't know you very well. So hello, it's nice to meet you. Tell us what you're doing, kind of what your goals are coming in here and how the progress has been going.
Yeah, so I really joined this group because I've been searching full time. I haven't been working and it's kind of just like you're floating in the void when you don't have a job and you don't have any structure to your day. And I was also very much in that place that Kat was talking about of like feeling really low about myself, my skills because of a really negative experience in my previous job. And so I think going to this group has really helped me change my mindset about what I have to bring to the table and also about what kinds of jobs I even want to seek. I do a lot of data related work and my previous job was in academic research related to economic inequality. And so those are the kinds of things that I'm interested in. And most data analysis jobs are not that. They're like, marketing research or whatever. So I was kind of leaning towards like, oh, maybe I should just apply to those because there are so many more of them. But talking to Kat and like thinking about my dream role, I tried to, after that, like focus more on positions that I was actually like that are somehow connected to my wider interests in like bettering society. And so actually yesterday I got a job offer that I'm planning to accept.
You did? That's
which
amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And it's in federal consulting. And that sounds kind of boring, but I think it'll be really, really cool because government agencies are so outdated when it comes to technology. And it just creates such a backlog, like people who are trying to sign up for social services, food stamps, public housing authorities trying to get their federal grant money. All of those types of things could be so much more efficient with better technology. And that's kind of the goal of this firm. And so I'll be contributing my data analysis skills to helping better those processes. So I'm excited about that. It kind of combines the best parts of industry with the best parts of federal work in that, like, I still have the 9-to-5 schedule of government jobs, but the high tech stuff of industry. So
that's awesome.
I'm excited about it.
So I want to ask, well, congratulations. That's amazing. What were the things that you found to be most helpful coming here that helped you with, landing the interview and then the job?
I think a huge thing was being able to talk out my anxieties related to talking about why I left my last job, talking about my experiences there, how to navigate like reference checks of like, are they going to reach out to my last job? Should I tell them to reach out to them? Who else can I put as a reference? Because that was really my first job out of college. And so those types of questions, Kat was super helpful. And I also just think the biggest thing was having peers to have camaraderie around the issue. And I think job searching right now is so different than the last time I was doing it, which was when I was a senior in college and surrounded by all my friends who are also doing it. So it's been really nice to find community in this group and to check back in with everyone every week and see how things are going and to be able to report what I've done or what I haven't done, what's gotten in the way. I think I work best when I can process things with other people. So I think that's been really helpful.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. That's really, really exciting.
Thank you.
And I will say, like, I feel like I'm getting a lot of credit, but honestly, it is a group effort every single time. And Kai has contributed a lot. Like today, they were giving like Xavier some really good advice, and to the point that that's when Xavier's like, we need to record this. I want to make sure that all the stuff Kai is saying, I want to get it. And Brooke has been really helpful. We've got all the other members that, we do perhaps challenge each other on some things like, what do you think about this? But honestly, a lot of it is knowing, because we go through some rough times as people with ADHD in the job, and it feels very lonely and it feels kind of scary. And I think that's a really big part of it when there's that compassion, the compassion and the understanding, like, and no judgment, like, yep, been there, done that. It might, seem like it's a one-off, but we've all experienced it. So it is very much a group effort.
And you've been practicing interview skills too. Is that, wow, that's kind of incredible to hear that you're doing that. Xavier, you wanted to add to that?
I'm really lucky. Kat asked during the last session, does anybody want to go through a mock interview? I raised my hand, and honestly, I wasn't prepared that previous Thursday, but I was like, you know what? I need to make sure that I'm not just letting this project run and run and run forever, this project of a job search. So raising my hand and taking that on helped me to create that kind of accountability and like a deadline so that I can actually come back to the meeting, come back to the conversation prepared, and honestly, so much further in the process than I would have been. And then the actual conversation that we had today was, wow, amazing. I am sitting in front of so many notes. Not only that, the transcript, and just sitting here comfortable with my people. So I feel really good right now.
That's awesome. What was the most challenging question Kat asked you?
That's a good question. Let me take a moment to think about that and give you an honest answer.
Okay.
He wasn't coached in that at all, by the way. So that is one of the techniques. So that's a really good question. Let me take a moment to think about that. So we talked about how that's perfectly okay to say in an interview. Maybe not an interview on a podcast, though, Xavier. I'm just saying.
Unlike a job interview, there's not editing. It's on the job interview.
I think I was extremely nervous going into the conversation. And I don't know if anybody noticed it during the conversation, but I could feel that I was missing some breath. And I think if I had opened up, because later on, Kat had given me the advice, go in and say, it's okay to say, hey, it's my first time being on this side of the table. You've been in a management position. That can break some nerves down. And be honest and say, I'm a little nervous. And if that person gives back, don't be nervous. You're good. It's going to be fine. If they give you that little bit of grace, not only is it like important to acknowledge that discomfort, but that brings them on your side, is what I heard too. So I wish I had brought that advice in sooner, because man, my brain is lacking some H2O, lacking some oxygen right now.
So I'm curious from everyone else. So Xavier said that he felt like he was kind of short on breath and appeared anxious. I think sometimes we feel that like big time internally, but it doesn't always come off that way. So I'm curious, Brooke, Kai and Kat, did you think that Xavier seemed a bit anxious?
He did. Yeah. I picked it up, especially in the first like 5 or 10 minutes of his interview. And then he calmed down pretty quickly. But yeah, I caught on to it early in the interview. And then the last couple questions, he settled in. So, and
what I just love, I'm like, because sometimes you ask in a group setting that kind of question, and you're always hoping that you're going to get honest feedback. And I just love that, because I think, in some group scenarios, you might see they go, oh no, he's fine. It's like, no, he actually appeared anxious. Tell him he was anxious, right? It's like, that's helpful. Telling he wasn't when he wasn't is not helpful, right? So that's great.
The first note I wrote was That was the first note I wrote on my feedback, was the word
We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Support for this podcast comes from our coaching community. Over 700 adults with ADHD have gone through our award-winning online video-based coaching and accountability groups. It is the group for growth, connection, and community, because no one should be on their ADHD journey alone. Put simply, we believe in growth through community. And this is the group built for adults with ADHD by adults with ADHD. I have ADHD, fellow coaches Moira Mabin and Roxy Martin have ADHD, all of our volunteers in our alumni community all have ADHD. We all get it. If you're teetering on the edge of joining our winter coaching season starting in January 2022, here's what our most recent coaching group members have to say.
When this coaching group came up, I had just moved out of my house. I was a mess, like a hot mess.
Before this group, I doubted my ability to grow.
Before this group, I worried a lot about being perceived as too needy.
Prior to this group, my definition of success definitely had a lot to do with how other people perceived things I was doing or had done, and if they deemed them successful.
So success before included knowing how to work on a big, complicated, long-term project from the start and getting it right perfectly, or at least extremely well the first time, and doing it all at once.
So I was newly diagnosed just about a year and a half ago, and I had lived so many years doing the best I could, and the diagnosis really just opened a door to a whole host of resources that I didn't ever know was there for me. This course seemed to be the holy grail.
I've learned that I don't need anybody else to define what successful means to me, and that I am pretty darn successful on a daily basis.
I realized that I feel safe coming to these sessions. I don't carry any apprehension or anxiety about showing up and not being enough.
The thing that I learned was I have a place in this world. I've found a real home that I don't ever have to really leave.
The thing I'm most proud of is that in the middle of some pretty intense chaos in my personal life and not knowing really what's going to happen in the future, having kind of the rug pulled out from under me, that I'm still here.
Now I feel a lot more comfortable with voicing things that I need, or being able to just talk about what is or is not working and not bringing too much judgment into that.
Now, success is planning what I can see as the first steps and starting.
I found these great people that, it's so funny. When I first got in AA, there was this really annoying lady that would always say, I'm so happy to be around people that think like I do. And I was always like, I'm never going to say crap like that. But here I am going, I'm so happy to be around these people that think like I do. It's just such a relief to know that you're not alone, that you might not think like everybody around you, but you certainly think like a bunch of people that are in the world.
I'm most proud of the fact that I'm part of a group of people that are from all over different places and are all grown adults that were able to come together and be real and open and vulnerable and put so much love and effort into each other to help each other get to the other side. I think we've all come a long way, and I'm really proud to be a part of your group.
If this sounds like the community you've been looking for, don't wait. Kick off the new year by joining us for our winter coaching season starting in January 2022 by going to coachingrewired.com and adding your name to our winter interest list. Once you get your name on the interest list, keep an eye out for your email for instructions on how you can join us for our next registration event, Thursday, December 2nd at 1:30 p.m. Central. That's Thursday, December 2nd at 12:30 p.m. Pacific, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. That's not this Thursday, which is Thanksgiving, but next Thursday. And there is a chance that we could potentially fill up next Thursday. We are over half filled, and our interest list keeps growing exponentially. Registration is by invitation only, so if you don't want to miss your chance to join us starting on January 7th for our 27th season of coaching and accountability groups, go now to coachingrewired.com and click on that big yellow button to add your name to our interest list. Then you'll receive an email with a few things we'll need from you before you get your actual invitation. This includes watching a 30-minute pre-recorded video and sending us a 45-second video. Don't worry, getting your name on our interest list means we'll send you the directions of what you need to do when you add your name to the interest list at coachingrewired.com. Don't wait. Get your name on our winter interest list and don't miss your chance to join us for our 27th season of coaching and accountability groups starting January 7th. Start the new year by learning how to put you and your goals first so you can start living your wholehearted life with ADHD and finding a community of people who just get it. Come grow with us. That's coachingrewired.com. We can't wait to meet you. And we're back.
Yeah, what I noticed was Xavier saying a lot. And when I am really nervous during an interview, my voice shakes. And that definitely wasn't happening for Xavier. So I thought that was good. But yeah, he did say a lot. I also say a lot. So I get it. I think a lot of people say a lot.
I'll tell you, if you want to work specifically on that skill, Toastmasters is a great venue for that. Because you literally, like, they count your ums and like those filler words. You get counted for those for every talk you give, and it's such like a narrow, they're short little talks, and it can be really helpful. And I don't know if you ever recommend people to do Toastmasters as part of a skill building component to job interviewing.
I haven't, only because I've started to do part of Toastmasters. I didn't notice Xavier saying them. I used the word quite a bit. So for me, I think I filter a lot of that out, and I don't necessarily, here I go, now I'm aware of it. I don't necessarily care one way or another if people do. So it doesn't, I don't know. I don't want a polished interview. And I'm just talking about somebody from the standpoint that I've interviewed thousands of people, if I feel like all of the answers are canned and that the person is incredibly polished, I'm pretty sure I didn't get to know the real person.
Interesting. And
I can't hire somebody I don't know. So I want to know, I'm going to ask questions, and I'm going to dig deep and ask them, okay, I didn't quite understand your answer. Can you elaborate on that? So yeah, I don't want somebody who's super polished.
When you were sharing that, Kat, I was wondering, since you have done thousands of interviews, would that perspective maybe be different from someone who like hasn't worked in HR, like, and they're maybe it's a small business owner and they're doing the interviewing. So I'm wondering, like, maybe your radar for bullshit is more tuned.
Brooke's done a lot of interviews as well. We've talked. Go ahead, Brooke. I'm sorry.
Yeah, as you were saying that, I realized that I was looking for a slightly more polished, not perfection, but I'm used to interviewing professionals, people that at least have a bachelor's, if not a master's degree. And so I'm used to a slightly more polished interview. And so that might have been where some of my like awareness of language and statements were coming from. And so that does make sense.
Cool. All right. It's funny because I'm interviewing right now as well, people. So I'm thinking about that. Okay. I actually had a really interesting interview today with someone who at first was definitely really nervous, but then once we got into the conversation, it was a really good conversation. Xavier?
I think to answer your question earlier, which part of the feedback was most impactful? I think this is right in line with what we're talking about here, the interview style and the way that the person who's looking for a job presents. One of the biggest pieces of feedback that I got from everybody in this session is that I presented as overqualified for the job that I'm looking for. And coming in with my experience in advocacy work, I've often looked for those people who exemplify intersectionality, the people who understand that the world is not black and gray. But when it was either Brooke or Kat that said, when you're coming to someone who's worked in blue collar work for a long time, they can often be scared away by somebody who acknowledges that in my spare time, I'm creative. And that can make the person who's interviewing you afraid that you might get bored of the job. So to combat that, presenting in a more one-dimensional way, bringing that one side of you that perfectly fits the narrative that they're looking for. If you know the job and you know what they're looking for, you have that job inside you, just show them that. And I think that's perfectly reasonable. But if you're also on the other side of this, coming from a blue collar job that looks for something that is more intersectional, something that understands the all sides of you. Coming to a place where you can be authentic and they recognize that in you. For me, that was often what I was looking for. And people that came in authentic and they can show that wider personality, that wider understanding of the community that we live in and the wide kinds of needs that need to be accommodated for. So yeah, bring your authentic self if that job is going to accommodate all of your authentic self. If that job is only looking for your hands to turn a tool, it's okay to just show them that your hand can turn the tool.
All right. Also, how far along right now are you in the process, Xavier, in your job search?
I think the next steps are to reach out to someone in the field. I have that lined up, and then have an offline, honest conversation about what is it like breaking into the field. After that, I want to reach out to the actual employers. So I'm very close to the end of my job search.
That's really exciting. What do you have like a target? Like you would love to be in a new job by a certain date?
I haven't said it yet, but I'm feeling, and this is a bad place to set deadlines from. I'm feeling 2 months. I think I want to have a conversation with that person this week or next week, depending on their schedule, depending on when my friend can make that connection. And then I want to have interviews set up in the middle of December, and then I want to ideally have answers and plans ready to go for the rest of the year. So like December 31st, I want to know what I'm doing for 2020 too.
I think that's great. And Xavier, make sure you come to the alumni planning sessions. We're going to be doing a deep dive starting at the end of November for 4 weeks on yearly planning. So that would be, I think, a great way to sort of connect some of those things as well.
Thank you so much, Eric. I'll be there.
Awesome. Kat, anything else you wanna share?
Well, I want, if it's okay, I would love for Brooke to share. She's had just this amazing process, and it's been really like just, I hate to say fun to be a part of because there's been some really hard times, but I think, just it's been, I don't know. I can't even, you're going to have to, if you want to, Brooke, talk to it because it's been a journey.
Yeah, it has been. It's been fun. I think it's been fun. So I initially started coming to Cash because I knew I needed to change jobs and I needed to get out of the agency that I was with because it wasn't a good fit for me. And I've always kind of had the same system of let the notes pile up and then work really late and get all your case notes caught up. I'm a social worker. Eric, we're the same. And so I needed to get out of there. And the communication was not great with management. And so I started Cash, and I was in for I'd done 2 weeks, and it was going really great. Was kind of making some progress. And then I walked into supervision one Thursday and was unexpectedly placed on suspension and was walked out of the building.
Wow.
And so, still not really.
I find it amazing that, because I had a similar situation with before I started my business. I was laid off on a Friday, 5 p.m. Friday, and without permission, without being allowed to have termination with my clients, which is completely unethical. Yeah. And it's just, man, so I'm sorry that you,
I walked in at 10 for supervision, and I was walked out of the building at 10:30.
I'm sorry you went through
Still
that.
not sure why. I wasn't able to finish. I had week 8 of a class a couple nights later, and I didn't get to teach that. I mean, I'd been with the families for 7 weeks. I didn't get to teach it. There was a ton of stuff that I just didn't get to finish. And so really upsetting, really disappointing. But I was really glad that I had Cash that afternoon. That was really helpful to kind of formulate a plan of, okay, where do we go next? I had a job interview the following day. I was offered a job.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I'd already been working on finding a new job. So I had a job interview the next day. They offered me a position that afternoon. The benefit of Cash is that I'd already kind of worked through that first exercise with Kat of finding your ideal position, and it wasn't a good fit. So I was able to say, thanks, but no thanks. I really appreciate you taking the time with me, but this isn't where I need to be. I gave notice to my, I went ahead and resigned with my former agency. I was like, you know what, if this is the way you're going to treat me, I'm out. And then continued the job search. And now come Monday, I have essentially 2 interviews with one agency for the most perfect fit. And I've basically put it in the universe that I'm going to nail it. They're going to fight over me, and either position would be ideal.
That is so exciting.
Yeah. And
how did that feel? Like where do you think you got that courage to tell this other place you interviewed with that I don't think this is for me?
I mean, it's a combination of things, but a lot of it comes from just the self-awareness that I've gained both from going through ARC and then doing cash. You know, I talked it out with my accountability group. I talked it out with my family. I talked it out with Kat. Like, it's just, I had a lot of different people that I was able to talk it out with. And ultimately it's that self-awareness of, I was going to get bored. I was going to get really bored in 3 to 6 months. And that's not good. So that's kind of been where I've been at. And that's been what, like a month-ish?
Wow.
Not even a month, like a month.
What a turnaround. Yeah. I mean, that is, man, that's like record speed. I mean, there's so many people that I hear, and they're like on like month 13 of looking for a job. And it's just, my heart just breaks. Man, that's a confidence killer, right? Wow. Well, that's amazing. Congratulations. And I wish you the best of luck on your interview. So what kind of work is it?
It is doing domestic violence. So one piece is doing statewide training for sexual abuse or sexual assault nurses and sexual assault response teams. And then the other position would be doing advocacy work statewide with changing policy for how our child welfare agency investigates domestic violence. So yeah, wow. I love policy and I love training. So honestly, either one is perfect.
That's awesome. Have you picked out your outfit?
Yes.
Have you talked about that?
Yep. I have like 2 interview outfits, one for in-person interviews and one for Zoom interviews.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Kat's seen my Zoom interview outfit. So
isn't it like a yellow because it looks really good against the
dark blue background?
Yeah. Yep.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, Eric, it's incredible. I mean, first of all, you've heard these guys talk, and they are really just amazing people, period. But then the work that they do is really interesting. So we have people in all kinds of different fields doing all kinds of different things. But what we do each week typically is go through and say, you know, what are you working on? Where are you? And that kind of like move it along that way. But it's just such a safe space to, you know, when Brooke said, hey, this afternoon I got walked out. I mean, we were all like, oh, are you okay? And she's like, yep, I've cried and I'll probably cry again. But it was also this like just very real and raw. And I don't know, it's just the amazing people doing amazing things and supporting each other. And I am now you see, Eric, why, like, I've got tears in my eyes.
I know you always tell me how much you love this. And
yes,
yeah, I love it.
And just, I'm not doing it by myself. It's really everyone helping each other out. But I do think that we do a dream job first. And that really, I think, has helped a lot of people go, you know, a lot of times when we go through the 10-week coaching program, a lot of people realize, holy shit, I'm in the wrong field. Yeah. Or, you know, something along those lines. Right. So it's really, it's helpful, that dream job sheet, to really look at, what do I love? What do I like doing? What do I want that to look like? And, you know, it's a little bit of my woo-woo law of attraction. I throw that in there just a little bit, but.
Did you really just law of attraction on my podcast, Kat?
I did.
How long have we known each other for? You know, come on.
Really, what it actually is it engages the reticular activating system, which is the part of our brain that scans the environment to prove what we believe is true is actually true. So that's what it's doing, is engaging the reticular activating system, which is also the law of attraction.
Minus the metaphysical part.
Right.
Okay. All right. But I think that's talking about something else. But we are we're not gonna go sideways on that one right now.
No, we're not.
Okay.
We're not. Nope.
But we are gonna take a quick break. Support for ADHD Rewired comes from our patrons over at ADHDrewired.com/Patreon. It's also where you can get ad-free episodes of this show starting at just $5 a month. Or for $10 a month, get ad-free episodes and hear the audio from our Patreon-only monthly coaching sessions that our $25 a month patrons can join. And the ad-free episodes will appear right in your podcast app. You just gotta set it up first on Patreon. We also want to thank our newest patron this week, Apruba. I'm not sure if I pronounced your name correctly, but thank you so much. So I want to thank you and every other patron who contributes each month, because that contribution is going to help me do things like grow our team or find more support, as in what I'm sitting in. I need a new chair. Listen to this. You know, this could be a very reciprocal relationship. You're getting the support from the podcast, or at $25 a month, you can also get additional support by joining me every fourth Tuesday of the month for a group coaching call on Zoom. And if you're listening to this episode on the day it came out, our next Patreon coaching call is today, November 23rd at 3 p.m. Central. That's 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you're listening to this early enough and you want to join us today, head on over to ADHDrewired.com/Patreon to sign up at the $25 a month level to join us today and every month for our monthly coaching call. No matter your contribution, I am grateful for all of our patrons. We are growing and getting ready to bring on another administrative assistant. As you heard, I need a new chair, and we have a lot of things that we have in the works, and with your support, it makes those things so much easier. If you love being a part of this community and love the show, and if you are in a position where you are able to support us financially, become a patron. We really do appreciate it. Consider joining us over at ADHDrewired.com/Patreon and become a patron. Remember, it's just $5 a month. You'll never have to hear another ad again. That's ADHDrewired.com/Patreon. And thanks. Can't get enough ADHD-related content? The ADHD Rewired Podcast Network has you covered. Go to ADHDrewired.com/podcast network, where you can check out all of our other shows. And if you want to do more than just listen, you can join us every second Tuesday of the month on Zoom, where we host a live Q&A to answer your ADHD-related questions. You can join me and Brendan Mahan from ADHD Essentials, Will Kerb from Hacking Your ADHD, MJ Siemens from ADHD Diversified, ADHD Rewired coach Moira Maben from the ADHD Friendly Lifestyle, and ADHD Rewired coach Roxy Martin from our upcoming podcast with Will Kerb. Wait, what was the question? And of course, my assistant and ADHD Rewired's amazing community manager, Barb McDonough, will be there too. That's every second Tuesday of the month. Join us for our live Q&A on Zoom. Go to ADHDrewired.com/events, or just click the events tab at the top of the page for our next live Q&A, which we are doing on Tuesday, December 14th at 10:30 a.m. Pacific, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. And I know you hear me ask this every week, but if you could leave a rating and review, specifically on Apple Podcasts, all the other podcast apps that take reviews is also great, but most people do listen through Apple Podcasts, and those reviews make a huge difference in the exposure of this podcast to other people. So just take a minute out of your day and leave us a review. To check out all of our podcasts and to join our live Q&A, go to ADHDrewired.com. Thanks for listening. And we're back. Yeah, you know how allergic I am to the
No, I do. That's why I love saying it.
I know you do. It's just to make me uncomfortable.
I do.
Well, it's awesome hearing how y'all are supporting each other, because I mean, I've been fired, I've been laid off, and it sucks. But I tell you what, though, from the experiences that I've had professionally, because I've had a lot of jobs, not all in my field. I was fired from a school social work internship that taught me a really valuable lesson about school politics, and that I don't want to work in schools because I don't bite my tongue so well. And that's I think skill number one when you work in schools, which is really sad. And there's a number two in there somewhere. I don't know what it was because it's like 5:30 and I usually do my interviews a lot earlier when my meds are still working. Oh, it just the fact that when I got laid off from my last job that I had, it honestly was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Like hurt like hell because it was unexpected and kind of shocking. But I also know that I'm someone that like if I'm backed in the corner, I perform like really well because it's like when you don't have the option of time, you just have to like focus and get something done and make it happen, which is how I started my business. And so it sounds like Brooke, you were kind of doing the same thing there, and I got to do it, and that's awesome. So Xavier, Brooke, and Kat. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. So I think we're going to, we'll wrap this one up right here. And
we make sure that people know that they can be a part of the alumni community or the ASH Plus community to be a part of Cash. Like if you don't have to be alumni.
Right. And that's what's so cool. You know, I was thinking about this too. And I was like, I don't want it to sound like this really big commercial for Adult Study Hall. But the thing that I was thinking about was, this shit's amazing. And it's like $20 a month for people to be a part of this.
Right. I mean, do you know how much I charge for my services? More than $20 a month. Right.
So it's, this sort of the economies of scale. We're bringing people in like this to do work with people in these different sort of domains. And so, Kat, I feel very grateful to have you doing this work and sharing your genius with us. And grateful for all of you. So thank you and congratulations and good luck on your next steps, and let us know when you land that job. Well, I got one more quick announcement that I almost forgot. On Tuesday, November 30th at 1 p.m. Central, I'm going to be presenting the same presentation that I gave at this year's ADHD conference. It's all about how to make accountability work for you. We're going to be talking about different techniques and strategies. We're going to be talking about communication strategies, as well as different ways to use accountability, the importance of conflict and compassionate ass kicking. So if you are looking to understand a little bit more about how accountability really can be one of the most powerful tools that you have in your ADHD toolbox, come check out this free presentation. We've posted it on our Facebook page and in our Facebook group, and we send an email out to our main email list. If you are not on our email list currently, to get signed up, we're going to send out another email about this probably the day before and probably again the day of this presentation. So again, that is on Tuesday, November 30th at 1 p.m. Central. That's 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. This is Eric Tivers. Thank you for listening, and congratulations for making it to the end. ADHD Rewired is more than just a podcast. We are a community focused on learning, growing, and connection. The website is ADHDrewired.com. You can find time-stamped summaries and additional resources for each episode. Apply to join our free and secret Facebook community. Learn more about our award-winning intensive online video-based coaching and accountability groups. Join the Adult Study Hall virtual co-working membership community. Find all the other podcasts on the ADHD Rewired podcast network. Sign up for my email newsletter to get exclusive content that you won't hear anywhere else. And use the search tool to find episodes on specific topics. You can do all of this at ADHDrewired.com. While you're there, click on the Patreon button. If you are a regular listener, consider making a monthly contribution by becoming a patron. If you are able to financially support my work, it would mean a lot. This show is free to you, the listener, but it's not free to produce. Plus, patrons get cool perks like ad-free episodes and access to recordings of coaching calls, and $25 a month patrons can join me once a month for a group coaching call. You can follow me on Twitter at Eric Tivers. You can like our Facebook page at facebook.com/ADHD Rewired. If you're a coach, therapist, or related professional, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/Eric Tivers. Subscribe to ADHD Rewired on YouTube to see selective interviews and other videos I've made. Podcasts change lives. You can make a difference in someone's life by spreading the word about this podcast. Mention it in your online communities on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, or wherever you hang out online. And be sure to share it with your friends, family, your therapists, your coaches, doctors, siblings, parents. And if you, your coach, therapist, doctor, or ADHD support group leader would like a pack of podcast postcards to hand out, you can request those at the website, ADHDrewired.com. If you're a member of CHAD, ADA, or any other ADHD support group, please be sure to tell them about this show and all the shows on the ADHD Rewired Podcast Network. You can even show them how to download it on their phone. And if you really loved this particular episode, please hit share on your podcast player. I'm only one person, and I do count on you to help spread this message. One of the biggest things that you can do to support this podcast and help other people discover it is to leave an honest rating and review on Apple Podcasts or any other app that supports reviews. And don't forget to hit subscribe so new episodes are automatically pushed to your favorite podcast app. Looking for more ways to listen and learn? Get a free audiobook and a 30-day free trial at Audible by going to audibletrial.com/ADHD Rewired. Here is my list of must-listen-to audiobooks updated July 2021. Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. Attached by Amir Levin and Rachel Heller. Atomic Habits by James Clear. The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. Crucial Conversations by Carrie Patterson. The Coaching Habit by Michael Stainer. The Body Keeps Score by Bessel van der Kolk. Rest by Alex Sujong Kim Pang. The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. Make It Stick. The Science of Successful Learning by Peter Brown. The Productivity Project by Chris Bailey. Meditation for Fidgety Skeptics by Dan Harris. Change Your Questions, Change Your Life by Marilee G. Adams. I always recommend to my coaches and admin that they read that book. The One Thing by Gary Keller, a required reading for all of our coaching group members. Procrastinate on Purpose by Rory Baden. The 4 Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin. The Art of Asking by Amanda Palmer. And if you're looking for something a little bit more magical, I have fallen in love with the Harry Potter series, and the narrator, Jim Dale, is amazing. And of course, if you haven't yet boarded the Brene Brown bus, all of her stuff is great, starting with Gifts of Imperfection, Daring Greatly, Rising Strong, and The Power of Vulnerability. And if you're an entrepreneur or leader, be sure to check out her book, Dare to Lead. Do you have something that you would like to share? Click on the podcast tab at ADHD Rewired. Click the button to be a guest at the top of the page and schedule a 15-minute interview. This is Eric Tibbers, reminding you to keep learning, growing, and connecting. Self-care is not selfish. No matter what you get done or don't get done, you are still enough. And no matter how hard it feels, we can do hard things. And we don't need to do them in the hardest way possible. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next week.